section 9.8 is on properties of logarithms. So we're going to be able to kind of put together logarithms using these properties. So we'll go through them one by one. The first one is the logarithm of 1. Well, that is always going to equal 0, because if we were to write it out, we would say 6 to what power equals 1, okay, and anything to the 0 power is 1. So anytime you see a 1 right here, no matter what the other part says, okay, so no matter what the base is, if there's a 1, that answer is always 0. Okay, logarithm of a base, okay, if we were going to kind of set this one up, it would say 4 to what power is 4 to the 15th. So obviously we'd see our power is 15. The shortcut here says that if these two numbers match, okay, the whole thing cancels out and you just get the exponent. Okay, so first two should seem pretty easy. The third one is logarithm of a product. That means if I have log of 250 plus log of 4, I can put that together by the product of those two, which would be log of 250 times 4, which would be the same thing as a log of 1,000. By putting those together, I can simplify log of 1,000 to be 3, because we know 10 to the third is 1,000. So by able to using these properties, we can simplify further. Okay, number 4 is logarithm of a quotient. So if we are subtracting, we can put those two things together by dividing. So I'll have 100 divided by 4. Okay, and again, that's going to help us because log base 5 now of 25, because 100 divided by 4 is 25, we know 5 squared is 25, so we can simplify that all the way down to 2. Okay, these only work though if the bases are the same. So this had to be a 5 and this had to be a 5. Okay, so it had to stay log base 5 here. So no matter what it is, like in the earlier one, it was a 10 and a 10 and it stayed a 10. Okay, that's true for all of these properties. So things to keep in mind: addition, okay, means you're going to multiply them. Subtraction is division. Okay, how do I remember it? Well, if I take a subtraction and I put a dot on the top and the bottom, it means to divide them. Okay, kind of a nice little trick. And the last one is a logarithm of a power. What this one says is I can take a coefficient here and move it to the back to make it a power. So 1/3 ln of t is the same thing as ln of t to the 1/3. So it moves back to the one that it's attached to. And then I'd still have the same idea with this 3, but the 3 would go back to the one in the r. So that would give me ln of r to the 3rd. So a coefficient can get moved to the back as an exponent on the one that it is attached to. Okay, so again, this one also had ln's instead of logs. The same properties go the same for ln's and logs because they're all logarithms. Okay, so let's try a few of these. So we want to be able to put these together as one single logarithm. In example A, I'm going to see that they're all log base 5, so I can use these. And the very, very first thing you're going to look for is to see if there are any coefficients. Okay, so this 1/2 is a coefficient, so I have to move it first. And again, that goes to the back, okay, of the one it's attached to as a power. So my log base 5 of 85 minus log base 5 of 17 plus, now this is going to turn to log base 5 of 25 to the 1/2. So this comes up here as a 1/2, and of course you can't see that, as a 1/2. And 25 to the 1/2, okay, is 5. Okay, so the first thing, take the power, okay, move it to the back as an exponent, and then make that a 5. Now what we're going to do is move from left to right. So the first thing I'm going to look at is these two, okay, and it's being subtracted, which means I'm going to divide. So the next thing it's going to say is log base 5 of 85 divided by 17, okay? And then I'll have my log base 5 of 5. So 85 divided by 17 is going to give me 5. So now I'm going to have log base 5 of 5 plus log base 5 of 5. And addition is like multiplication, so that's going to be log base 5 of 25. Okay, so I multiplied my 5 times 5 to get here. So from here I went 5 times 5, so you can multiply those two. Now the question is, okay, set this equal to x and say 5 to what power equals 25, okay, and that's a 2. At this point, if you don't need to write out this step right here, and you can just go to 2, that's great, okay, but if you need to write it out, go ahead so that you know what you're doing. Okay, so there's a lot of steps here, so we're just going to take it one by one. So we'll try example B. Again, first thing you're looking for is a coefficient. So I see this coefficient of a 2, so that means I need to move this back here, and that makes that x squared. Okay, so now I've got log base 3 of 4 plus log base 3 of x squared minus log base 3 of y. Again, you start from the left to the right. Addition is like multiplication. So now I've got log base 3. 4 times x squared is just 4x squared minus log base 3 of y. Now I'm subtracting, and subtracting is like division. So I have log base 3 of 4x squared over y. Okay, and that doesn't simplify down anymore. Okay, and then example C. First thing always is looking for a coefficient. So I'm going to take this 3 and I'm going to make it a coefficient on that 5. So now I've got log base 5. 5 to the third is 125. Okay, that's a power. I did not write 15 because 5 to the third is 125. Then I'll just rewrite the rest of my equation here. Okay, again, you're starting from left to right. So this first piece, okay, subtraction is like division. So I've got log base 5 of 125 divided by 5. And then I've got plus log base 5 of 5 to the 10th. Okay, so this part over here, 125 divided by 25 is 5. So now I've got log base 5 of 5. Well, log base 5 of 5, I'll rewrite that for you. Log base 5 of 5 plus log base 5 of 5 to the 10th. Let's use our other trick. Remember, if these two numbers are the same, okay, they're going to cancel. So this whole thing becomes a 10. Well, we can use that same idea over here. The exponent on that 5 is a 1. So that whole simplifies to 1. So my final answer is 11. Okay, so when the base and the the base and the number are the same, you just get what's left over. So I get a 1 here plus a 10 is going to give me a final answer of 11. Okay, so just take it step by step. And now we're going to try and use those same ideas to actually solve. Okay, so the same idea is going to be, what can I simplify first? Well, on the right-hand side, I've got an addition, which means I can put those together by multiplying. So now I have log of 20 because I multiplied 5 times 4. What's really nice about the solving ones is if I have something equal to something, okay, it's going to cancel out. So the logs cancel. So I'm going to be left with 4a equals 20. So a equals 5. Okay, the only really thing that you have to be careful of here is that the logs do not cancel, okay, until you have one log equal to one log. Okay, you can't do it initially. Okay, so we'll try E. Again, I'm going to leave the left side because that's just 7p plus 5. That's as simplified as it gets. Again, over here, like in the simplify, I want to see if I have a coefficient, and I do. So I'm going to make that log of 5 to the third, which is going to be log of 125 plus log of 2. Addition is like multiplication, so I can do 125 times 2. Okay, and now that I have one log equal to one log, now and only now can I cancel my logs. Okay, I could not do it at the beginning. So now I'm going to have 7p plus 5 equals 250. So I subtract 5. So I'll get 7p to equal 245 divided by 7, and I'll get p to equal 35. Okay, so using your properties and then solving them after you get one log to equal one log. So we'll try a few more of these because they're kind of tricky. More examples is always better. So first thing I can do on the left side is I see subtraction. Subtraction is like division. So I can go ahead and do 625 divided by 25. And over on the left side, I'm going to move that exponent so that I have an x squared. Okay, so on the left side, 625 divided by 25 is 25. Now I have one log equal to one log, but now they're log base 5. So when I cancel log, the 5s go with it because it's part of the label. So at this point, I just get 25 to equal x squared. So x will equal plus or minus 5. Please notice the plus or minus here, right? When you square root something, you get two answers, and that has not changed. So make sure that you square root that with two answers. Okay, so we'll try G. Same idea. Okay, the left side is as simplified as it gets. So I've got x over 3. Next I can do is I can move my negative 1/3. Okay, be very careful there. That's a negative 1/3. So I've got log base 6 of 216 to the negative 1/3. Well, if 216 to the 1/3 would be 6, the negative then flips it. I'm not sure if you're going to remember that, so just be careful. So I'll write this part over here for you. So I had 216 to the negative 1/3, okay, which is 216 to the 1/3 to the negative 1. So 216 to the 1/3 is 6. 6 to the negative 1 is 1/6. Again, these are all things that you've done before, okay? This is something that could or could not be on a no calculator, so you're going to want to be able to do something like that, okay? All right, so now on the right side, subtraction is like division. So I have 1/6 divided by 2, which is careful, 1/12. Very good. So now I've got log base 6 of x over 3 equals log base 6 of 1/12. Okay, again, now I have a log equal to a log, so they cancel along with the 6's. That's part of the label. They all go together. So I have x over 3 equals 1/12. So to get x by itself, I'm going to multiply each side by 3. So I get, oopsies, not 3 equals, x equals 1/4 for my final answer. Okay, I know we're doing a lot of examples, but I'm hoping that you're starting to kind of get the hang of this as we do more of them. Okay, and one last doozy to wrap it up, we'll do example H. So I've got log base 5 of x over 4. Okay, and the first thing I always look for in all of these problems, okay, is if I have a coefficient that I can move to become a power. So that's going to become log base 5 of 8 squared, which is 64. Okay, on the right side, I see another coefficient, so I'm going to move that. So that becomes 256 to the 1/2. So I've got log base 5, 256 to the 1/2 is 16. Okay, plus log base 5 of 5. And actually at this point, I can simplify both the left and the right. So if I simplify the left side, I have addition, which is like multiplication. So I've got log base 5 of 64 times x over 4. So that's going to be 64x over 4, okay, because you would put 64 over 1 and multiply those. And then over here on the right side, I still have addition, so that's going to give me 16 times 5. Okay, so I've got 16 times 5 is actually 80. And then 64 over 4 cancels down to 16x over here. Now my logs, okay, I've got one log equal to one log. So along with the 5s, those are going to cancel. So now I've got 16x to equal 80. Well, that turns out nice. So then x just simplifies down to 5. Okay, so a lot of steps there, but hopefully you're kind of getting the hint. Big thing to remember, look for coefficients first. Okay, look for coefficients first, and then addition is multiplication, and subtraction is division. So I'm sure you have some questions. Think about them, write it down. Okay, we're going to start with those tomorrow. Okay, nice job.